Hey, welcome back to Mysterious Case. As always, wishing you a great day. The videos on our channel are solely for informational and educational purposes, always aiming for positivity and encouraging everyone to prioritize their own safety and care for those around them. If this is your first time here, please consider subscribing to the channel to help build a healthy community. Thank you. The case in this episode takes place in Binghamton, a charming small city in southern New York, about 170 miles from the hustle and bustle of the Big Apple, a place that captures your heart at first sight. With a population of just under 50,000, it's affectionately called the Parlor City, for its stunning Victorian homes and neat, cozy neighborhoods. Once a hub for cigar and shoe manufacturing in the 19th century, Binghamton has since transformed into a center for healthcare and education, largely thanks to the top-tier Binghamton University, where 18,000 students keep the city vibrant. Add to that the lush rural scenery, a fantastic zoo, and a peaceful vibe, and Binghamton is truly an ideal place to study, live, and relax. Haley Anderson, born on May 9, 1995, was a young woman full of energy and compassion. Raised in Westbury, about 200 miles from Binghamton University, Haley was the youngest in her family, with her father Gordon, mother Karen, and older sister Melanie. With her cheerful, humorous, and hard-working personality, she easily connected with those around her. Haley loved music, was always open, and ready to help her friends, making her a cherished friend in the eyes of many. In 2013, Haley left her family to pursue her academic dreams at Binghamton University, a prestigious public institution in the northeastern U.S. Driven by her compassion, she chose to study nursing, aiming to work in the emergency room at Northwell Health after graduation. While studying, Haley worked at Jasmine Cafe on campus, where she showcased her skill in brewing and serving. She was the epitome of a dynamic student, balancing work and studies while tirelessly striving toward her dreams. Binghamton, where Haley studied, is a small city of about 50,000 people, renowned for its historic Victorian architecture and tranquil atmosphere. Binghamton University, with around 18,000 students, is a key educational hub of the city. Haley quickly adapted to student life here, engaging in social activities and forming close relationships. However, Haley's seemingly peaceful life took a turn when she met Orlando Tercero, another student at the university. What began as a friendship and romance gradually turned into a nightmare, leading to a tragedy. Haley could not have known that behind Orlando's friendly smile was an obsessive individual, ready to destroy her life out of blind jealousy. Orlando Tercero, a student at Binghamton University, entered Haley Anderson's life as a friend, but later became her worst nightmare. Holding dual U.S. and Nicaraguan citizenship, Orlando grew up in Miami but frequently traveled between the two countries. To friends, he was described as fun, able to make others laugh, and sometimes appearing caring and respectful. However, beneath this friendly facade was a deeply unstable individual, consumed by a need for control and jealousy. Haley met Orlando through her ex-boyfriend Kevin during her final years at university. Initially, their relationship was just a friendship or a casual fling. Haley, an independent and free-spirited woman, was clear that she didn't want to be tied down by a serious relationship at this stage. She openly communicated this to Orlando, but he refused to accept her freedom. His jealousy surfaced when Haley spent time with other men, particularly Kevin. Orlando would often show up unannounced at Haley's house, sitting on her porch and smoking, as if monitoring her. I don't know if you're thinking what I'm thinking, but I'm picturing a tough guy, like a gang member. Kinda cool, but not someone you'd want to get close to. The situation escalated in September 2017, when Haley discovered all 4 tires of her car had been slashed, causing over $600 in damages, a significant amount for a student. She immediately suspected Orlando, especially since the incident occurred shortly after he suspected she had spent the night with Kevin. Orlando tried to deflect by claiming his own tires were slashed too, but he never reported it to the police. Furious but compassionate, Haley chose not to report Orlando, worried that he could be expelled and his future ruined. This decision stemmed from her kindness, but it unwittingly prolonged her dangerous connection with him. Despite the conflict, Haley kept Orlando in her life, possibly because she didn't want to treat him too harshly. However, this leniency led to a tragic outcome, as Orlando grew increasingly obsessive and willing to do anything to control her. On the evening of March 7, 2018, Haley Anderson was still savoring her final months of college. She gathered with close friends at her place, opening a bottle of wine and playing board games late into the night. The atmosphere was cheerful, filled with laughter, with no one suspecting these would be Haley's final hours. Around 3 a.m. on March 8th, Haley decided to leave the gathering to meet Orlando Tercero at his off-campus apartment. This was captured by nearby surveillance cameras, showing Haley entering Orlando's place at 3:15 a.m. Why, though? She was rather reckless to agree to meet an obsessive person at 3 a.m. What happened in the hours that followed remains a mystery, but the outcome is painfully clear. Haley was strangled to death. Based on later evidence, it's believed Orlando's motive was blind jealousy. He couldn't accept Haley's freedom to love or spend time with others. If he couldn't have her, it seemed Orlando decided no one could. Haley's death was not just a crime, but a manifestation of perverse control and toxic emotions. About 7 hours later, at 10:48 a.m., surveillance footage captured Orlando leaving the apartment alone. He returned shortly after with melatonin and Ziquil, 2 sleep aids. However, Orlando's intent wasn't to sleep. He proceeded coldly. He wrote a letter in Spanish to his deceased father, stating, "I never imagined doing this. I'm sorry, Dad. I'll see you soon." The letter hinted at Orlando's suicidal intentions while revealing his awareness of the crime he had committed. People in such a negative state can seem pitiable. I'm not sure why. I somewhat sympathize with his lovesick obsession, but his actions remain a crime. Orlando then attempted to hang himself with a tie, using iron hooks he retrieved from the basement. However, the plan failed when he fell and hit his head on the floor, bleeding heavily. Instead of trying again, Orlando chose to flee. He bandaged his wound, packed his belongings, and headed to JFK International Airport, catching a flight to Nicaragua, hoping to escape justice forever. A rather fragile suicide attempt. On the morning of March 8, 2018, Haley Anderson's close friends began to sense something was wrong. Haley, always punctual and in constant contact with her friends, wasn't responding to texts or calls. This was completely out of character, sparking concern. By evening, when Haley didn't show up for her beloved poetry class, an activity she rarely missed, their worry turned to panic. They decided to act immediately to find out what was happening. Fortunately, Haley was cautious and used the Find My Friends app on her iPhone to share her location with her closest friends. When they checked, they found her last known location wasn't at her home, but at Orlando Tercero's apartment, her ex-boyfriend with a history of troubling behavior. Without hesitation, the group drove to Orlando's apartment to uncover the truth. Upon arrival, they noticed something off. The lights were off, the door was locked, and Orlando's car was nowhere in sight. Suspecting the worst, they decided to break in through a window. Quite a bold move. The scene inside left them stunned. Haley lay motionless on a bed in Orlando's bedroom, lifeless. In a state of panic, the friends immediately called 911 to alert the police. Their courage and deep friendship led to the discovery of Haley's body, but it also left them with an indelible pain, having witnessed their dear friend gone forever. Their act of breaking through the window wasn't just an effort to find Haley. It was a testament to their profound bond, willing to do anything to protect one another. Meanwhile, Orlando had long fled the scene. He didn't just escape. He tried to erase all traces of his actions. What he didn't anticipate, however, was that nearby surveillance cameras had recorded everything, from Haley entering his apartment to him leaving alone. These videos later became critical evidence, exposing the truth of his crime. But by the time Haley's friends uncovered the truth, Orlando was thousands of miles away, on a flight to Nicaragua. After committing the horrific crime, Orlando Tercero swiftly left the apartment and planned his escape. He went to JFK International Airport, purchased a ticket, and boarded a flight to Nicaragua, his homeland, on March 8, 2018. As a dual U.S. and Nicaraguan citizen, Orlando believed he could evade justice by hiding in a country with no extradition treaty with the United States. This calculated flight revealed his cold pragmatism, despite earlier signs of remorse in the letter to his deceased father. Meanwhile, a troubling detail unfolded in Binghamton. On the morning of March 8, after killing Haley, Orlando texted his sister, confessing he had done something terrible and felt like a disgrace to the family. Concerned for her brother, Orlando's sister contacted the Binghamton police, requesting a welfare check at his apartment. An officer was dispatched, knocked on the door, but received no response. Instead of investigating further, the officer simply left. This error allowed a critical opportunity to uncover the crime to slip away, giving Orlando more time to escape. Hours later, when Haley's friends broke through the window and found her body, the police returned to the apartment. By then, they realized the gravity of the situation, but Orlando had already left the U.S. The police quickly identified him as the prime suspect based on surveillance footage and Haley's last known location. However, Orlando's arrival in Nicaragua significantly complicated the case. With no extradition treaty between Nicaragua and the U.S., Orlando could potentially remain free unless local authorities intervened. The police's delay during the initial welfare check sparked significant controversy. Had the officer investigated more thoroughly, Orlando might have been apprehended before fleeing. This oversight not only deepened the pain for Haley's family, but also led the community to question the effectiveness of law enforcement. Meanwhile, in Nicaragua, Orlando was picked up by his mother at Managua's airport and returned home, as if nothing had happened.
We are learning new details today about the man wanted for questioning in the suspicious death of a Binghamton University student. Police identify him as Orlando Tercero. He is also a Binghamton nursing student and the ex-boyfriend of 22-year-old Haley Anderson. Police found Anderson's body on Friday at an off-campus home. They want to question Tercero, but say he fled to Nicaragua before authorities found her body.
Haley Anderson's death left a deep wound in the Binghamton University community and the small city itself. As a vibrant nursing student beloved by friends and faculty, her loss shocked everyone. The following Monday, senior nursing classes were canceled to honor her memory. Binghamton University President Harvey Stenger and Dean of Nursing Mario Ortiz issued heartfelt condolences, mourning the loss of a talented and compassionate student. The campus was enveloped in grief, with memorial events held to celebrate Haley's life. While the community grappled with their sorrow, Binghamton police and investigators began collecting evidence. The autopsy revealed Haley died from asphyxiation due to strangulation, with visible bruises on her neck and arms. The time of death aligned with when Haley was in Orlando's apartment, corroborated by surveillance footage. These videos, showing Haley entering Orlando's apartment at 3:15 a.m., and Orlando leaving alone the next morning, provided undeniable evidence. However, Orlando's escape to Nicaragua posed a significant obstacle. With no extradition treaty between the U.S. and Nicaragua, American authorities could only rely on the goodwill of Nicaraguan officials to apprehend and prosecute Orlando. This left Haley's family and investigators feeling helpless, fearing the perpetrator might evade justice. Some detectives even expressed pessimism, believing the chances of bringing Orlando back were slim. Meanwhile, in Nicaragua, Orlando lived freely for a few days after returning. He was cared for by his mother at home, as if nothing had happened. However, an international alert had been issued for his arrest. Eventually, when he visited a hospital in the city of Leon, he was identified and detained by Nicaraguan police. This event marked a turning point, offering hope that justice might be served, though the road ahead remained challenging. The case of Haley Anderson is not just a story of crime, but a lesson in the complexities of international law. After Orlando Tercero's arrest in Nicaragua, hopes for justice were kindled, but the path forward was fraught with obstacles. With no extradition treaty between Nicaragua and the U.S., American authorities couldn't demand Orlando's return to face trial in New York, where he could have been charged with second-degree murder, carrying a maximum sentence of life imprisonment and a minimum of 25 years. Instead, Orlando's fate rested with Nicaraguan authorities. This left Haley's family in a state of unease, uncertain whether the killer would face deserved punishment. U.S. investigators could only provide evidence and hope Nicaragua would act. Fortunately, Nicaraguan authorities chose to prosecute Orlando domestically rather than release him. He was charged with femicide, a specific crime in Nicaragua referring to the intentional killing of a woman by a male perpetrator, often tied to motives of jealousy or control. Femicide doesn't exist in the U.S. legal system, but in Nicaragua, it carries a maximum sentence of 30 years. The decision to try Orlando in Nicaragua was a step forward, but sparked controversy. Haley's family and friends felt frustrated that he wasn't extradited to the U.S., where the penalty could have been harsher. However, they had no choice but to accept and follow the trial from afar. While awaiting trial, Orlando experienced instability. After his arrest, he attempted suicide again and was admitted to a psychiatric hospital in Managua for treatment. Once declared stable, he was transferred to El Chipote, a notorious prison in Nicaragua, to face the trial that would determine his fate. Meanwhile, in the U.S., Haley's family, friends, and the Binghamton community continued to wait, hoping that, even in another country, justice would be served to honor the young woman taken too soon. The trial of Orlando Tercero in Nicaragua drew intense focus from Haley Anderson's family and the international community. Held in Managua, the trial centered on the femicide charge, with Nicaraguan prosecutors leveraging evidence provided by U.S. authorities, including surveillance footage, autopsy results, and testimonies from Haley's friends and family. This evidence painted a clear picture of Orlando's obsessive and violent behavior toward Haley. Haley's mother and friends provided critical testimony, describing Orlando as intensely jealous and possessive. They recounted how he frequently harassed Haley, showed up uninvited at her home, and even slashed her car tires when he suspected her of seeing someone else. The tire-slashing incident in September 2017, causing $600 in damages, was cited as clear evidence of Orlando's pathological need for control. These actions, combined with Haley's strangulation in his apartment, made the motive of jealous murder undeniable. Physical evidence was pivotal. The autopsy confirmed Haley died from asphyxiation due to strangulation, with bruises on her neck and arms. Surveillance footage showed Haley entering Orlando's apartment at 3:15 a.m., and Orlando leaving alone the next morning, alongside his purchase of sleep aids and a letter hinting at suicide. The letter to his father, in which Orlando expressed remorse and said he'd see him soon, demonstrated his full awareness of his crime. During the trial, Orlando attempted to justify his actions, claiming he lost control due to intoxication and had no memory of the killing. However, when asked if he had ever experienced similar blackouts before or after that night, he provided no convincing evidence. His indifferent, uncooperative demeanor further angered the judge and the public. After just an hour and a half of deliberation, the sole judge in the case found Orlando guilty of femicide, sentencing him to 30 years in prison, the maximum penalty under Nicaraguan law. The femicide conviction of Orlando Tercero in Nicaragua brought some measure of justice to Haley Anderson's family and friends, but it also stirred mixed emotions. For Haley's mother, her sister Melanie, and loved ones, the sentence acknowledged that the killer faced consequences, yet it couldn't ease the pain of losing a cherished daughter and friend. The fact that Orlando wasn't tried in the U.S., where he could have faced life imprisonment, left many feeling that justice was incomplete. Notably, some of Orlando's old friends in Nicaragua refused to believe he was guilty. To them, he was a kind, fun-loving guy incapable of such a horrific act. They saw no signs of possessiveness or violence, unaware of his obsessive behavior in the U.S. This denial frustrated many in Binghamton, especially given the irrefutable evidence against him. However, those close to Haley dismissed these opinions, focusing solely on honoring her memory. A year after the verdict, Orlando attempted an appeal, requesting a psychiatric reevaluation, but the Nicaraguan court rejected it. The 30-year sentence was upheld, and he continued serving his time in El Chipote prison. Yet, the story didn't end there. The Broome County District Attorney's Office in New York issued a warrant for Orlando's arrest and vowed to seek his extradition to the U.S. after he completes his sentence in Nicaragua. If successful, Orlando could face a second trial in the U.S. for murder. Though how sentencing for the same crime across two countries would work remains a complex legal question. I find this a pretty bold and resolute move. The Nicaraguan conviction, while a victory, highlighted disparities between legal systems. Some believe Orlando might have received a lighter sentence in the U.S., but Nicaragua's prison conditions are likely far harsher. Ultimately, for Haley's family, the most important outcome was that the perpetrator was no longer free, and Haley's memory would be forever cherished. The death of Haley Anderson was not only a personal tragedy, but also a wake-up call about toxic relationships and the dangers of uncontrolled jealousy. Haley is remembered as an intelligent, beautiful, and deeply compassionate young woman. After her passing, her father accepted her diploma on her behalf at Binghamton University, a moment both proud and heartbreaking. She left behind a legacy of someone who lived fully, loved her friends, and dreamed of becoming a nurse to save lives. Memorial gatherings at her school and social media posts from friends show that Haley touched the hearts of many. The case also highlighted the importance of friendship and vigilance. The courageous act of Haley's friends breaking a window to find her is a testament to genuine friendship. They not only helped uncover the crime, but also ensured that Orlando could not escape forever. Haley's caution in sharing her location is a lesson for many young people, especially women, about protecting personal safety in relationships. On the other hand, the case exposed flaws in the law enforcement system. The Binghamton police's failure to thoroughly investigate during the initial welfare check was a grave mistake, allowing Orlando time to flee. The complexity of international law, with the lack of an extradition treaty between the U.S. and Nicaragua, also raises questions about handling cross-border cases. These issues urge the community and authorities to reflect on how to improve the system to prevent similar tragedies. Ultimately, Haley's story is a reminder that jealousy and control are not love. Orlando Tercero, though sentenced to 30 years in a notorious prison, cannot change the fact that he stole a life full of promise. Through their pain, Haley's family and friends continue to honor her memory, turning tragedy into a driving force to raise awareness about violence in relationships. Haley Anderson will forever be a light in the hearts of those who loved her. What do you think about the verdict? Haley Anderson's stolen future, or Orlando Tercero's jealousy and control? Finally, we extend our deepest condolences to Haley Anderson's family. May she rest in peace. Goodbye. See you in our next videos, and don't forget to stay safe, live positively, and support our channel by liking and subscribing.